Ricardo Gonzalez, aka It's a Living. How you doing, man?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good.
You do you feel rested?
I do actually. Yeah, it's been a couple long days.
Well, we're just starting to wrap up now, right, mate? But it's been pretty intense.
Yeah,
It's been an intense few days with our new podcast sponsor, Bentley. Not a bad podcast sponsor as sponsors go. But we're actually on day 3, man.
Day 3 a little bit over, but over and good, right?
Awesome. I mean, look, when you're driving around in the brand new Bentley Bentayga, life isn't bad.
Not at all.
Bro, how was that on Friday, man?
So smooth. I love it.
You love the car?
Yeah, especially pressing the gas a little. Oh my God, that's a good experience.
Has to be done, right? Yeah, I mean, obviously staying within the speed limit, but it has to be done. Just a little. Mate, this is what's so awesome, right? Bentley are like great client. We've adored working with them. And even on the podcast, they're like, look, you don't have to talk about the car. But I'm like, I'm gonna. Yeah. I'm obsessed with the car.
Props, though. Like it's a good experience, you know.
Yeah, man. Me and you cruising around downtown LA, making memories.
Definitely, lifetime memories for sure.
Lifetime memories, man. And bro, your piece is looking fuego.
Fuego, I like that. Thank you.
That's about the limit of my Spanish, bro. And I dropped Denada. Denada on you yesterday.
You're pretty good. Yeah, you have a good accent though.
Yeah, man. Well,
I'll
have to come down to Durango.
Come down. It's quite small though, but
is Durango small? Do you know what, bro? I haven't even been to Mexico.
Oh, Mexico City. I think it's a good start. My town is really small, but it's got some cool stuff, mostly in the mountains, like sightseeing and stuff.
But is Durango near Mexico City?
No, it's like driving is like 10, 12 hours.
And obviously Mexico City is a big, like, bustling city, kind of like Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
But Durango is like small, and that's where you grew up?
So tiny. Yeah, that's where I grew up. It's very, very small, so.
Yeah.
There are only a few places I really like, the 2 bars, and they're one from each other. And,
yeah.
I grew up just skating, hanging out, painting, graffiti a little bit.
How early did you get into art?
Not really into art. I always drew, like, not just doodles, you know, back in school, but I would say started doing more creative stuff, I'd say, like middle school.
Really?
Or, middle school, and then, like, high school got more into it, and then, like, picked up a little graffiti and just running around here. Just having fun, you know, like, that's how it goes.
Yeah, man, because obviously, like, your work is really typographic. And we were talking a little bit yesterday when we were working on the films that you're going to star in, or the film that you're going to star in. We were talking a little bit about where you, like, got your drive and your passion for typography. And it's from your grandparents, right? So was the route wasn't necessarily like really kind of like painterly. It was more like straight up kind of handwriting. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's embedded. It was embedded somehow because I grew up like in my grandma's house, and I would just see pictures of my grandparents, like, or my uncles, and I would see like little notes, you know, because back then, like, you could dedicate a photo, so we just write it and then the year. So it's all like handwritten, and that was like crazy. It attracted my attention. It wasn't interesting because I didn't know what it, like, couldn't really read it. But as I grew up, I was, I can read it. Oh, there's like for my loving wife, you know, and then you can start reading, and that was what was interesting, the flow and all these things. I grew up with it, but I just never really paid attention to it until like later in life. I studied typography, graphic design, and then combined it with the hand styles because I like hand styles, you know, from the street. It just all came together. It's like what I do right now is a mix of things from my past, you know? Yeah,
man. But I find that so interesting. That even then, it's kind of, for me, it's clicking a little bit. I love the way that, and we talked about this a little bit for the film, that, as you just said, like, it wasn't like you were studying those notes, being like, I'm absorbing this for my art career. It was just something that you enjoyed reading. But even then, when you were talking about the fact that it was like, you know, like loving notes on photographs, right? it seems to me that like that part of it, because when I look at your work, one thing that I love about your work is the kind of empowerment and like the, you know, the encouragement and like positive phrasing and words. And do you think that there might be a connection back to that, because you were absorbing like, you know, loving notes from family member to family member?
Yeah, I guess in a way, yes. But I think what also I really like is the ambiguity of my work, because I usually use 2-3 words, so it's kind of sometimes difficult. I like that because to me it's a challenge. How can I translate what I want to say, what I'm feeling, into, you know, something graphical, but like using 2-3 words. So that's a challenge for me, especially coming from like Spanish speaking, learning, you know, a lot, and that's communication. And going back from Spanish to English and translation, and my mind is always running, you know, 2 systems at the same time.
Parallel,
And
yeah.
then, and then also, how can I say something and it's universal and positive? Because that's the root of being really ambiguity, right? And at the same time, not fall in the part where it's negative, because so many things can be taken like so wrong. And, you know, like, because we all have different perspectives and different sides. So I'm always really, really careful with that stuff, with especially what I write and all this stuff. But usually it comes from me and a necessity of, you know, communicate something.
Yeah, mate. And do you do like a lot of kind of Spanish phrasing? Because maybe on your Instagram, quite a lot of it is like English,
Yeah.
right? And mate, do you know what, dude? I only speak English, and I'm always saying to myself that I learned a little bit of Spanish at school and a little bit of French at school and even a little bit of German, but I've forgotten it all.
Yeah.
But one thing that I know is that, you know, that like words and phrases are not completely interchangeable, right? So you might have, is it like I don't know Spanish very well, but I imagine there's plenty of phrases that you grew up saying, or, you know, are just second nature to you in Spanish. And the direct translation, it can be a little bit, you know, it's not as simple as just like a straight translation from Spanish to English.
It can be straight, because that's the challenge with communication in languages. For instance, I can say a joke in Spanish, translated, does not make sense at all. And same with the other way. I could do like an English joke and translate it in Spanish, and my friends are gonna be like, what is this, man? It's not funny. And,
Yeah.
But that comes from time learning, also a lot of cultural references. I try to bring that a lot in my work. Many times people don't realize it, but it comes sometimes from songs that I relate to. If I'm, you know, feeling something, I take a little piece from a song, you know, 2-3 words, put it in a painting, in a mural. People connected with it in a different way. Right, but yeah, that's how I take pieces. And going back to Spanish, I painted. I've done some pieces in Spanish. I would like to push more on that, but I mean, it's kind of like everybody knows my work is English, and what I like from that is universal. You know, it could be passed on to, it could be passed on, and people can understand it. So it's a bit more universal. But I also want to create. Also want to do more work in different languages. So it's more personal message, you know, to like paint something in Japanese, you know, using kanjis and all that. And it's my appreciation for the language, because it's difficult, you know. And
I love that as well, because it's like you're shining a light on like a new, if you're shining a light on a new language, then it's like a whole new playground of words. Definitely. You know. Yeah. And I could imagine that, you know, say you're just chilling with your like Japanese friend, you know, I really want to do a piece that's, you know, in Japanese, and this is the kind of thing I want to say, and then they can be like, I've got the perfect character. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah.
Sometimes I ask them like, how do I translate this? And then like there are different meanings. For instance, it's a living. I like that. So difficult to translate in languages. In Spanish, it's so difficult. French, so difficult. Japanese, so difficult. Chinese, difficult. And doesn't translate because it's a living. In English is a saying about a lifestyle, you know. Oh, it's like a casual. This is what I do for a living, you know. Oh, I'm a producer. I work.
Well, but I
whatever.
love your artist name as well, because it's kind of it's really like off key to me, because it's almost like it's not. It is a statement, but it's almost like the answer to a question as well. So that collection of words like is quite unusual. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like a kind of bold title that sits on its own. It like it can really be taken in like a few different ways.
Definitely, and also I like that it's not referred to a person. It's like it's not just a artist name. I like it's a statement. And I like when I put stickers in the street and people find it. People connect with it, you know. I don't know, somebody coming from the gym and then you know they had a hard day or something, and they just see it like, oh, it's a living, you know. They connected with. Or I've run into people when I'm painting, you know, mural and says it's a living, and then I don't know, construction worker comes by and they're like, yo, brother, you know. And I like that, you know. And they get it, they get that vibe, and that's also the beauty of painting in the street. You get to meet real people in real time and in the neighborhood, and you connect with real people there. So it's really nice where your work can take you, you know.
Yeah, of course, man. And so how long have you been you're living in Brooklyn, New York?
I'm based in Brooklyn, yeah.
How long have you been there?
It's gonna be 7 years in June, July. Yeah, 7 years. Wow.
And you kind of split your time though between like New York, Mexico City,
LA, and Japan. Yeah,
really Japan as well.
Yeah, I go there quite often.
Have you done any Japanese like kanji?
Not really.
Bro,
they don't let me, but well, it's not they don't let me. They just want
who
when
who
I go
can
to
stop you?
No, but that's what it's not that people stop me there, but they prefer my work in English. I think I'm just gonna try it out, different languages.
Yeah,
because I know how to write It's a Living in kanjis and French, like c'est la vie, or in kanjis it's completely different, right? Jinsei in Japanese, so I like that, and I think it just opens the door for what I do, typography, lettering, to a whole another universe. But I got to be very mindful of the language too, you know. I cannot just go and Google translate that and boom, you know, like getting
Google
at the two, you know.
Translate's funny, man. I mean, I enjoy, you know, anyone on Instagram that I follow that isn't English or their first language isn't English, and then they'll drop a huge paragraph in like Spanish or you know, Russian or whatever it is, and then you hit translate.
Yeah, it's getting better though, but it's like no,
and it's all over the place. But okay, so I get it, man. So when you're in Japan, it just comes down to the fact that if you're like a non-Japanese artist, then obviously they'd rather you wrote in like English or Spanish.
Yeah, same as in Mexico. I am there, and usually just, oh no, we want your work in English. I'm like, well, I would like to paint in Spanish, and I don't know, it really depends on the project, but I think I really want to push in the near future self projects where I involve the language locally. So that'll be pretty interesting.
Dude, I love this, man. And bro, I wanted to talk a little bit as well about your last show. Was that in Durango then, the one where there was a lot of kind of circular typography pieces, but they were painted direct onto the wall?
Onto the wall, yeah. So my last show was in Japan. Okay. My last solo show, that was at Fine Art Gallery. But I think it's probably one of my favorite projects by far is that project I did in my hometown. Basically, I got a warehouse, 400 meters square, and I just paint 12 murals in a time of 3 months. And then at the end, I mean, it was a self-project. That project to me was meant to be, or I had in my mind in 2 years, you know. But it happened because where we're living right now with the pandemic and everything. So I just, all right, this is the perfect time, and it all fall into place. Yeah. Finding the spot, because it's so difficult to find places like that. Obviously, I put all the money for it, you know, because of my self project, and it started as something for me, you know, like painting all these murals. Basically, it was a huge gallery for me. But at the end, when my friends saw like what I was doing, they're like, "Oh man, I would love to see this. You know, like once it's done, are you gonna do a show?" And I was like, "I don't know because everybody's like half quarantine, you know." But the space was big enough to bring people in, so I brought 5 people at a time, 5 minutes. So that was fun, and people can experience and enjoy a different perception of art because it was a show, but the pieces weren't for sale. It's just meant to look for free, and especially where I'm from. It's at the end of the day, I give something back to the community, which I didn't think of. And it was well received. And yeah, I opened up the show for 1 day after 3 months. And then the next day I just painted it all.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
It was only open for 1 day.
Only 1 day.
Did anyone try and buy it? Did anyone try and like say, bro, I want that bit of wall?
Not that level, but people wanted to get paintings or even after that, like a lot of people like, where's this place? I wanna go see it. So I kind of like that part also, that it was temporary.
Dude, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Temporary.
I was watching, you know, David Hockney, the artist David Hockney. He's like a British artist. He painted a lot of like Hollywood Hills mansions and swimming pools. Anyway, he's still alive. Like, he's an awesome artist, and he had a documentary that was all about preservation, like the preservation of art and all these art techniques.
Wow.
And you know, obviously, like preserving art is a wonderful thing, and you know, if you go to a museum, you can see artifacts, bits of art, sculptures, pots, whatever, from you know that are hundreds of years old, thousands of years old, even older than that, and that is awesome. You know, brilliant. But I also just love the idea that, you know, life is impermanent and eventually everything crumbles. You know, so when I saw this show and, you know, saw on your Instagram, there's one dope post where I guess you're just playing it in reverse, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're whiting out one of these huge circular murals, but you're playing it backwards, so it kind of looks like...
Because there were 12 pieces and they're all circular. So it was like a full warehouse, and I just divided the walls in squares, and then it was all like very symmetrical. So,
yeah.
So,
but this one where you're whiting it out, playing it backwards, it's like it's like a cartoon. You know, like in an old like Tom and Jerry cartoon where they have paint that like makes
it paints everything on one.
Paints everything in
one
one go.
One brush stroke, yeah.
And it's dope, man. But when I saw what was going on there, I was like, I love this. And did you get lots of people though going like, no, like, what do you mean you're gonna like white this out?
Yeah, a lot of people were like, wow, why would you do that? Why would you spend 3 months of your time painting every day, hot days, rainy days, all sorts of days, you know? And I loved it when I was there, and I hated it too. I was like, what am I doing this? Why?
Because
like,
it was just such like...
Yeah, and I painted all by myself.
Hard work.
Yeah, hard work, and I was all doing it by myself. But what I really appreciate is the fact that I loved it, and I hated it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's true love to me, because it questioned me, like, why am I doing this? And where are you going with all this? Why? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? And why are you trying to paint all this? And what's it going to be for? And, you know, it's good to question yourself. So at the time, it was good. When I finished and I made the show, it really makes sense because everybody was really happy to see it. And especially it was my first show in Mexico, especially in my hometown. So people were proud and very supportive, and thanks to everyone who came in. Yeah.
But then again, when you're whiting that stuff out, people are like, no.
Even people like were trying to fly in from different places. Where's this place? I want to go see it.
Please don't white it out.
Don't white it. And I'm like, and I think to me, well, what I felt, it was more about the attachment exercise. Like, let it go. It's kind of like what we're going through, you know. It's been a up and down year, and my career can go up and down, you know. You can always be at the top, and I think it's just good to, for me, remind that, you know, nothing. Well, the title of the show is actually "Nothing Lasts Forever,"
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's so dope, man. I'm really obsessed with this topic of conversation. But I think, you know, when people see those bits of art getting whited out and disappearing, it definitely reflects something inside of us, which is just, you know, as kind of like modern humans. Yes, an attachment to life, an unwillingness to accept that, you know, one day we'll grow old and eventually we won't be here. Yeah. But I'm with you, man. I think that, like, and just like you were saying, like, the creation of the show was awesome at points, but brutally hard at others. That for me is like, well, that's what life is. You know,
love and hate it.
Yeah, and it has to be. And you know, the hard parts allow the incredible parts to be incredible. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And there is like two sides of the coin, and night and day, and yin and yang, and
makes so much sense. You know, it's very elemental, but makes sense.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I was so happy, and like I said, it was a personal project that turned out to be a public project. So then it was really, really, for me, really gained sense at the time. It really, you know, like, oh, this is what I was working for 3 months to show to my friends, my family. A lot of people came in, and especially in a time, you know, where you were locked in your house for like 2-3 months, and you had like a show because nothing was open. So there was this little thing open in my hometown that people, you can come in for free, you know, like, and you can see, touch, whatever you experience with the space, because ultimately people were able to see the work in person and kind of feel the space. So yeah, that was very fulfilling to me. Yeah.
Do you think, has anyone done a show where you spend months creating art and then you let the public come in and destroy it for you or white it out? Yeah. It's got to have been done, right?
I think so, probably.
But that'd be pretty cool, man. See if people could do it. Most people would be like, no, I can't do it. Yeah. All right, mate. So look, we talked about, you know, kind of a little bit about where you've got your inspiration from. And I just wanted to kind of bring it full circle, because again, when we were making this awesome film that you're going to star in, the piece of work that you made, we're gonna sell it. We're gonna sell it, and we're gonna raise money for Inner City Arts, which is a really cool, like, creatively focused charity that basically just kind of puts on all sorts of like art workshops for the youth in kind of underserved places in Los Angeles. So we were talking a little bit about that, and a little bit about, okay, here's where I got my inspiration from, but here's how I like to pass it on. But you said something awesome when we were talking, which is just about teaching the next generation just to be better than you.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I loved.
No, I like that. You know, I really strong believe in that, you know, and I can see it, a young generation learning faster, because I think I want to say I learn faster, but I think the people coming behind, they're a lot faster, more, number one, they got more tools, you know, younger, and, you know, accessibility, like, but I also appreciate the part where grandparents or parents or grandparents didn't have the tools, and then that's where creativity kicked in, you know, like, oh, you learned this way, like for writing, oh, you need this pen, calligraphic pen, this is the ink. Now you can just use, I don't know, like a tablet or something and just sketch it out, right? But yeah, that's the beauty of passing on the knowledge from generation. And, you know, like, oh, this is the way you write, especially what I do, script. It's not common anymore, but you could see like our parents, grandparents, they do write the notes, you know. And back in the 50s, in like Spencerian, copperplate, that was like everybody could write that, you know. Yeah, right. Like they could write you a ticket, you know, for, I don't know, like going to groceries and like eggs, you know, and then they're super beautiful, and
it's so true, mate. My handwriting is at this point, like, you know, in my mid-30s, it's non-existent, because I'm so out of practice, because I'm, you know, tapping into a keyboard. Yeah. But is that something that you try and do? Obviously, when you're painting your murals and like the canvas that you've painted for this project, it's physical, you know. Your hands holding the paintbrush, which is touching the canvas, or your hands holding a can of spray paint, which is spraying it onto the wall. But do you do a lot of digital work as well? And if you're just like moving around, I imagine,
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, go for it.
What I do like comes from and it's funny because it's a balance between analog and digital. I started analog. I can sketch it out maybe in a napkin or something, a paper, you know. But I get the sketch, can take it to computer, you know, like work it out. But then at the end, it might go into a mural, like a wall, like it goes analog back again, or a canvas. And I like that is like it could look really clean and very like wow, like it's very perfect. But I like all those little details that is like human made. Coming from human to digital to human back again, I think that's a really interesting transition.
And I think that this is like, for me, this is where I can see how important it is to kind of hand down this, you know, knowledge, skill sets, creativity. Because you can imagine a scenario really easily where if no one like yourself, who is, you know, a little bit, maybe you're an older generation than like the kids, but you're pretty young yourself. If no one is going to kind of teach this kind of hands-on calligraphy and typography, you can imagine a scenario where it kind of disappears and everyone is just straight up digital. I was listening, I've brought this up probably another time on this podcast, but I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about, I think it was like boots, like some old like workman's boots, where they wanted to like revive this old company and make boots how they used to years and years and years ago. But they realized that they literally didn't know the same techniques that were used. So what they had to do was go and find like the original people that worked in these like, you know, handmade boot factories that were all at that point, there was only a couple of them left and they were literally like 70, 80 years old. And they had to kind of like, you know, get them in and ask this older generation to teach them, like, what do we do? You know, and right there you can see like, wow, something nearly got like completely lost. Because as soon as those guys aren't here anymore,
it's not preserved, you know, and that's art. That's why the museums are trying to preserve history through art, because art has a place in time, you know, it marks a time and space. Like right now, like what street art is happening is the most recorded, or how we said, it's the art that has been documented the most in history, because we have cell phones, so we just can't take pictures. So
everywhere.
So it's an interesting time right now.
No, it is, man. But you know, but I like the way that street art, you know, has a shelf life though as well, and it does disappear. So again, I think that this was the sense I got when I was watching that documentary that I was telling you about. On the one hand, preserve it. I want to see something that's thousands of years old. Of course I do. But then on the other hand, when something crumbles, I also like developing this side of myself, or this attitude of like, yeah, that's life. Things crumble. Beautiful buildings will disappear. You know, and again, sometimes when I look into the street art world, man, you know, people get very protective.
Very.
And part of me is like,
well, especially if you're painting the street, you know, it's the street. I mean,
it's the street.
Like,
let it go. You know what I mean? Who cares?
I mean, but that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you spend hours, you have this emotional attachment, not because the actual work, but because you like basically blood, sweat, and tears. And a lot of people, I feel, attach themselves too much to that feeling. And to me, it was an exercise of that. Like, oh my God, I was sweating, you know, and dirty every day, tired, but I was loving it. And to be honest, I didn't feel nothing when I was like erasing it. I was like, all right, well, this is amazing. I'm done.
Yeah.
Next project.
But and that's part of it. But you know, and I suppose maybe for the people who didn't create it, like your viewers, you know, the people that come to the show, they haven't lived that same experience. You know what I mean? If they're kind of like the highs and lows of creating it. So I can see from someone else's point of view why they'd be like, no.
But that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, it is.
It questions.
Yeah.
You know, it puts them to question, like, why would he do that? You know.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's what art's supposed to do. You know, like question and you know, create a conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, just the perception of people and on what you do, or if I do something. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, look, mate, you've got one more day in Los Angeles tomorrow.
Yes, and it's supposed to be sunny, I think.
I've got the keys to one of the cars. I got the keys
Let's go
to the Bentayga. Do you want to?
Yeah, of
We
course.
definitely should, mate.
Let's go get lunch.
You're fully insured. What can go wrong?
Nothing. Just go get lunch, eat, enjoy LA. I love LA. I love coming here.
It's
man.
a living.
And thank you so much for bringing me out. You
Oh,
guys,
bro.
Like
Thanks for saying yes,
Secret
man.
Walls, Bentley. You guys have pretty awesome stuff.
I just
to
can't
share.
wait for everyone to see the film.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. The shots.
Unreal.
I'm excited.
Honestly, everything about this project is shaping up to be awesome. You know, we're right in the middle of it, so it isn't done yet. But from everything that we've seen, and everyone's putting in such passionate work, I'm so excited to see it, mate. Plus, we've got the keys to a magenta Bentayga.
Beautiful.
So let's
So good.
let's go and get some lunch.
All right, let's do it.
All right, mate. Listen, absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Next time you're in LA, we got to get you back on the podcast.
All right.
When are you gonna come back?
I don't know. I come back.
You're
come
here
to
quite
LA
often,
pretty
aren't
soon.
you?
Yeah, pretty often. Actually, that was last time I was here. It was before the pandemic, February. So, but I come every month too.
All right, mate. Well, look, put me in your speed dial, JIMI.
Definitely.
Soon as that plane touches the tarmac.
Actually, this is cool because finally I get to visit Secret Walls headquarters.
Yeah.
The first time. We've been talking about it for
Yeah.
quite a while.
I can't believe you haven't been here.
Yeah, I know. But it's like usually I come here for 3-4 days, do the project, get super wrecked, and then like out, back to the road. But it's
He means tired, Emmett.
Yeah.
He means tired. All right, bro. Look, thank you so much, mate. Let's take these cars for a spin.
All right, let's do it.